Welcome back to my channel. It's Ashley here, and if you are new, let me get comfortable. Hey girl, hey! So in this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some methods that I use to get the close to perfect stencil. So the first thing before we go into stenciling, I just want to talk about stencils in general. So for me, stencils have, like I posted on my Instagram and Facebook, we have a love-hate relationship. I love stencils, but they have just never worked for me. And I always see people get the perfect stencil and they literally are just using painter's tape, and I'm like, how? Okay, so if you are the same way, keep watching this video, because honestly, I'm gonna give you some valuable information. So I have to find a stencil that has adhesive. If it doesn't have adhesive, I'm like terrified of it, okay? But I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna show you some tricks. I'm gonna tell you some tricks in this video, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'm gonna go over some stencils though that you can buy at your local craft stores that are amazing to use. So the first thing is at Michael's. They have Art Minds. You guys have, if you shop at Michael's, you know Art Minds. Their paint is not the best, but their stencils are good. So one of the stencils that they have are these larger stencils. So of course they have the large stencils and they have the smaller ones, but they do, the small and the large ones both have adhesive. So these are amazing. I used this one time, but as you can see, it's still sticky, especially if you keep them on the backs that they originally come on. So I can use this for like a couple more uses, maybe. I don't know, but it still sticks really well. And I was surprised. I was really surprised, but this does work. Their adhesive stencils work well. Don't know how many tries I can get out of them, but again, we're going to talk about how you can be using these in this video. Another person that has really good stencils at Michael's is Martha Stewart. So her adhesive laser cut stencils are really good as well. They have that same stick factor like this, and you can use them multiple times. I've used these in DIY projects, and one pack of her, like, I guess it was like a deco vibe kind of stencil. I used that for a mirror, and I got the whole mirror done, and it was still sticky and adhesive, and I could use it again. So they are good stencils to use if you shop at Michael's a lot. Michael's also has silkscreen stencils. So silkscreen stencils, honestly, y'all, are my favorite. I love silkscreen stencils. And if you're familiar with chalk couture, you're going to know what I'm talking about when I say silkscreen stencils. So chalk couture has really good silkscreen stencils that literally you peel it off, put it on there, do your thing, and let me tell you, your picture or whatever you're doing is going to look like you are a professional, like professional stenciler. That's what your stuff is going to look like. So I love to use like the chalk couture stencil, silkscreen stencils, or if you just are like, oh my gosh, I just want to try this out, you can try these. Now this is the Martha Stewart one. This looks a mess, honestly, and I just still have it, but this is her silkscreen stencil, and it did work. I did this on the dresser, but it doesn't have the same stick as like a chalk couture type of silkscreen. And if you know of any other silkscreen stencils that are amazing, leave them down below in the comments, because I would love to know, and I'm pretty sure some more people would love to know as well. But silkscreen stencils are amazing. And also, I forgot to mention that Michael's also has really good silkscreen stencils, but it has to be these red ones. The red ones are good. The Martha Stewart's, I mean, you can try them, but honestly, when you peel them off, they really don't have kind of like that really strong sticky vibe. And when I pulled one of the stencils off, like some of the stencil came off, so I'm just warning you. And also Hobby Lobby, they have silkscreen stencils there as well, and I've tried them and it kind of did the same exact thing. But some stencils though that they do have that I like are these flexible stencils. So these stencils you can get at Hobby Lobby, and all you do is, of course, just like a regular stencil, you peel it off. But what's so good about these is that if you're trying to do like a curve, like if your piece has a curve on it or something like that, these are good because you don't have to, I mean, they're flexible. Bottom line, they're flexible. So these are really good to use for that, and I like to use these. And they have a couple of these at Hobby Lobby. I haven't really seen these anywhere else, but I'm pretty sure like if you Google flexible adhesive stencils, I mean something will pop up. But these are really good if you have like curves or something like that, because they bend and they keep their shape. So I like these too. Alright, so now that you kind of have a gist of if you are terrible at stenciling like me, what to look out for, which is the adhesive, the flexible, or the silkscreen stencils, I am going to now share with you if you can't find the design that you like from them and you just have to use the regular laser cut stencils, what you can do to get the close to perfect stencil. So the first thing that I do is, if my stencil just so happens to come with a group of different stencils, I make sure to cut out the specific stencil that I want to use, and I just make sure I cut it out. What I just said, and it made no sense at all, but you guys are getting what I'm saying, hopefully. So what I do is I take my paper cutter. You can use scissors, but I'm going to use my paper cutter, and I just cut out the stencil that I'm going to use. So you can do precise measurements if you want, measure the side and the other side, or you can do it by the eyes, which I do all the time. I feel like I have like some jet eyes that like I know when something can look like it's accurately the same size, but it's probably off by a couple of inches or something. But you can do whatever you feel comfortable with doing. So I am just going to kind of like eyeball this, and I am going to just cut that stencil out. So now I have my single stencil. So once you've picked out whatever stencil you want to use, the next step is using the main part of this thing that is amazing, okay? It is the Easy Tack spray adhesive. If you've never heard of it, you're gonna hear it today. It's amazing. It is honestly the best thing that was ever invented. I have used other type of stencil adhesives, and they do not do this stencil justice like Easy Tack does. So you can get these from any craft store, and you can use a coupon. So I got this particular one. It was on clearance, and it was from Hobby Lobby. And this is just a game changer when it comes to using stencils. So all you're gonna have to do is take whatever stencil you're using, flip it over, and then you spray this stuff on the back. So this is so this is an adhesive, but it is a repositional adhesive. So you can stick it on something, move it wherever, and stick it somewhere else. So you're going to spray this on the back, and you're going to leave it for about 60 seconds, and then after you do that, your stencil is ready. So now we're going to start to stencil these drawers. So all I'm going to do is take that stencil and place it down, making sure that I'm patting down every area of this stencil so that nothing is raised and it is stuck on my surface. The second little tip that you should know about using laser cut stencils if they don't have adhesive. So the first one was using the Easy Tack. The second one is how you're going to apply it. I think that's not the word to use. So anyways, using my brushes. So my favorite thing to use are sponge brushes. So you can use sponge brushes, but they also have stencil brushes. And the stencil brushes and the sponge brushes, they're the same thing because they just have like, it's just flat. I feel like when you use a sponge, you can get more paint on there, and then it just works better. If you ask me, you don't have to keep doing all those multiple dips that you would if you're using like a stencil brush, but that's my preference. I just like to use the sponge brush, but you can use either or because they both have like that flat surface, and they're not like your traditional paintbrush, and you don't have to worry about bristles going underneath your stencil. So the pack that I'm using is a variety pack of sponge brushes, which is amazing because you get different size sponge brushes. So for this particular pack, you're going to get a 1 1/4 sponge brush, a 3/4 sponge brush, and then a 1.5 inch sponge brush. So these are really good to like alternate from. If you have a very large stencil, of course you want to use your larger brush. When you get to the edges of your stencils, you can start to use the smaller brushes, so you can kind of eliminate you kind of going over your stencil if you feel like switching in between. So I really love to use the assorted pack of brushes. And you can also get like just a really big round. If you have a really huge stencil, you can get the really round brush stencil, and it really looks like a stamp. You can use those as well to do your larger stencils. But honestly, these sponges are a game changer. I'm pretty sure if you have done a stencil, you've tried it with a sponge brush, I hope. But if not, make sure that you do try it with a sponge brush, because it's just so much easier, if you ask me, to get the job done. So the one thing that I do want to cover though really fast about the sponge brushes is that you have to do you should do your stencil all in one sitting. Because if you, let's say that you're using chalk paint, and we all know that chalk paint dries really fast, and then you're like, oh shoot, my thing is hard, I need to go wash it or whatever, and then you wash it off, and then you might think that your sponge brush is completely dry, but it's not, and then you go back and you're like, okay, and then you start to do it again, and then this is what happens, where your paint kind of starts to seep through. So you just want to make sure that you either have multiple brushes, or that you just do your whole stencil in one sitting, or you just wait until the next day and start your project again when your sponges are extremely, you know that they're dry. So that's one little thing that I just wanted to share, and that's what it looks like if you don't do it that way. And then you're gonna have to go and do some touch-up work. So real quickly, I just want to point out, if your stencil doesn't dry all the way, or you have a lot of buildup, some of the adhesive can come off. And if that happens, all you have to do is wait for your paint to dry, and then just take your thumb or whatever finger and just rub it around until the adhesive comes off. Since this was raw wood, it was a little bit trickier, but if you have a smooth surface or a painted surface, it literally is going to come right off, because that happened to me before. But in this case, I'm going to have to go back in with my paintbrush and just touch up some areas. But all you have to do if this happens is let your paint dry, take your finger, and start to remove the adhesive. So now I'm going to start to apply the stencil all over the side of this dresser. And if your stencil starts to not be as sticky as it was in the beginning, all you have to do is take the Easy Tack and spray it again, and then you'll be good to go, and you can continue on. Honestly, another thing that you want to make sure that you do, which I'm going to be completely honest, I don't do this all the time, but you want to make sure that you don't get a lot of buildup of paint onto your stencil, because then it starts to get really messy and just a lot of stuff can go wrong. So you really want to make sure in between that you get to wash your stencil, and then after you wash your stencil again, you can flip it over and you can add that Easy Tack to the back. Okay, so now that you have your stencil all done, and that is if you've done it on the wall, if you've done it on your floor, you've done it on the side of a drawer, or you've just did like literally one stencil somewhere, now it's time to do touch-up work. Because just because you've used the adhesive doesn't mean you're not gonna have any oopsies. If you're like me, I'm still like, this just doesn't work. So the key to touch-up work is using small brushes. So really small brushes. So I'm talking the detail brushes that you can get from Hobby Lobby with the close to nothing bristles on there. Those are the perfect ones to use to get the job done. So you can go between flat brushes, you can go between the linear, round, or the spotter brushes, whatever type of brushes that you have, and you're just gonna go around and start to paint and just touch up where you have just a little bit of bleed through. So that's the main thing that is going to make sure that your stencil looks bombastic. Okay, so those are the three things that you're going to need. 1, 2, 3. I feel like I told you more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, those are the 4 things that you can do to help you get the close to perfect stencil. So the first thing is actually just picking out your stencils. If you're like me, I'm just gonna go for adhesive stencils or silkscreen stencils. But if you cannot get those in the type of style that you want or that you're looking for, you're gonna have to literally just go with the laser cut stencils. And then if you have those, then all you're gonna need is that Easy Tack. And then after the Easy Tack, you're going to need the sponge brushes. And then after the sponge brushes, all you're going to need are those detailed, smaller brushes to do your touch-up work. So I really hope that this video helped you out. I love the way these drawers turned out. Also, make sure that you mix your paint. Because sometimes I don't do this. But honestly, this brown, it needed to be like, I needed to like mix it together because when I was doing the touch-ups, it was like a little bit darker. But I shook up my paint, and then I went over the touch-up work that I did before, because again, the paint like varied, so you want to make sure you shake up your paint. So if you do those 4 things, you are on your way to getting the close to perfect stencil. It's gonna make your life so much easier. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, yes, I want that stencil. I don't even care if it doesn't have adhesive, because now I know some steps that I can take to get my stencil to look as close as perfect as possible. I do this all the time and I feel so much better every time I see a stencil that is not adhesive. I'm like, yes, I can use my Easy Tack, turn it into an adhesive stencil, and create a good stencil. So don't get discouraged. I hope this video encourages more people to want to use stencils or not get anxiety when they have to use stencils, because trust me, I used to do that. But I love stencils because they're amazing and you can do amazing things with stencils. But it gets frustrating when you're not that perfect person that can create the perfect stencil, again, I say, with just taping the sides. These are some tips that can really help you create a very nice looking stencil. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, as always, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below to let me know what you think. Let me know your experiences that you've had with stencils. If you have any brand of stencil or anything like that that you think it would be amazing for me to try, or anyone else to try, and you just want to spread the word, make sure you leave it down below, because I will definitely try it out. Again, I love adhesive and I love silkscreen stencils. So with that, if you aren't subscribed to my channel, make sure you click on that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you'll always be up to date with my latest videos, and I will see you in my next one.